Mom wants me to help her while insulting me. I was just hoping for some advice on this. So, I'm 21, a college student, living at home, and not paying rent. I do not have a job. My mom, in her 50s, first and foremost, is disabled. She is heavily obese and has a lot of health problems and physical pain that causes movement to be hard for her some days. Some days are worse than others. The point of making this post on this sub is that my mom, as I grew up, often insulted me. When she has gotten mad, she has called me many names and curse words. This has happened at least since I was 10. I remember 2 big fights in the past 3 years, where in the first one she felt like I didn't help her out enough with her disability and she called me worthless, said that I was ungrateful, and threw things at my closed bedroom door from the adjacent room, where eventually she accidentally hit a picture frame besides my door and broke the glass. The next fight was much more recent, only being last year when I didn't take her advice of taking a fanny pack on a plane I was going on. She called me a bitch, a stupid bitch, a know-it-all, and such. She physically, despite her pain, I guess, blocked my way out of the room when I tried to leave, and slammed open my door multiple times when I eventually made it back to my room. It eventually escalated to my dad defending me, and they argued with each other. That led to her telling me my dad and her would get a divorce because of me, and that I would be happy, wouldn't you? However, despite of all this, she had gotten better the last year. She hadn't insulted me at all, hadn't gotten mad to that degree anymore. Our relationship improved. I even sought her out for comfort when I was having a depressed episode the other week. But, as I originally mentioned, I don't have a job, as I've been struggling to find one. I've been actively applying for months, and the farthest I've gotten were some interviews, but I haven't been successful. It's been really demoralizing. So, a couple days ago, I overheard her telling her friend that I was not trying hard enough to get a job, and that if I wanted to be treated like an adult, I should get a job like a normal adult. Her saying that just brought everything back, so I've been avoiding her as much as I can while living in the same house, as I try to deal with the feelings it gave me. The problem is, she's noticed, as she often comes to me for help with chores and household stuff like making dinner or cleaning up. She's getting more mad at me because of me avoiding her, and my dad this time agrees with her that I should be helping her more on account of her disability, that she loves me, and just because I'm pissed off doesn't mean I shouldn't help out. But I don't understand why I should help her when she says these things about me. Then also, I don't know what to do, as I can't just move out on the spot, I don't have a job, and I have had a lot of trouble finding one. The only good thing is that my dad refuses to make me pay rent, while my mom wants me to. I don't know what to do, and I don't know why I should help her, and I just don't know how much I can take living with her if she starts insulting me again. I'm scared of it, and I would like any advice that might help my situation, if that's okay. Oh my God. I just had to intervene to stop a mother from getting her child killed, and I was the problem, apparently. I'm sorry. I need to vent because I'm shocked and worried about this child. This just happened, and I'm running off adrenaline. My Fitbit says my heart rate is 130 BPM. For context, I currently live in a suburb in Texas. My son's primary school is on a long stretch of road. It's 5 lanes. The speed limit is 70 miles per hour. During school zone hours, it's 30 miles per hour. The school sits right in the middle, and the crosswalks are at least half a mile each way, maybe more. The point is, it's not close. One's closer than the other, but it's not a brisk walk. It's a trek. This road is also very popular since it leads into the city and houses all tiers of public education. There are giant trucks, working trucks, and all manners of cars at any given hour. It's super backed up during school hours. So here we are. My husband is pulling out of the school, and it's a chore because of the heavy traffic. He notices a kid right next to us on the sidewalk, showing signs of looking down these 5 lanes. He better not be trying to cross the street. What the F? He hardly mentions before slamming the pedal. The kid had stepped into the road, and my husband pulled immediately into the street to stop the people in that lane. The kid pulls back. I jump out of the car and yell at the kid to immediately discourage anything. Stop, cried the archdeacon. Let me tell you, this kid was not fine. I couldn't get a word out of him, and he couldn't explain to me what he was doing. He was panicked, blubbering, and looking to the other side. I had to hold him so he'd stop trying. He kept looking toward a cyclist on the other side of the road. She was yelling at me. You can't hear it for over 5 lanes. I figured it was his mom, so I asked, do you want me to drive him to you?
She did not like that.
This crazy bitch barged down those 5 lanes, thus further worsening public opinion over cyclists. She was in her entire gear, and yet she left her bike on the other side. She tossed it down. She stormed onto the road, holding out her hand. The cars rolled into a stop, the last one being a gigantic Texas truck whose hood was at her shoulder. What's the problem here? She had the audacity to ask me as if I just didn't pull a Greg Abbott on an abortion. I suppose at 417.42 weeks, there could be exceptions. Are you his mother? I laid down the narrative to judge her character above her preferred mode of transportation. Yes, I am. She rambled here, but I don't speak crazy. I cut her off. Okay, but he was trying to cross the street. I know. We're practicing. My goodness. I can't tell you the way my heart sank to hear that this woman planned to put her 8-year-old son into this situation and fully intended for him to do so on his own, as if it takes exposure therapy to get over one's fear of getting hit by a Punisher logo-clad murder truck. And now, I'm not a busybody. I disengage with people whose tone screams entitlement. It's a skill you master in Texas. I am, however, shamelessly confrontational when it involves a child who can't defend themselves. I turned toward my husband, who had now parked back inside the school's lot, and yelled, Hey, it's okay. They're just practicing endangering the life of a child. He screamed back, what, because, again, 5 lanes. But I pretended he could hear me. I added, I know. Who does that? Not me. A normal person. Because I was just being a bitch right back to that lady. She had taken her son to the side, knelt and held his hands, and was rambling to him her crazy nonsense about me. Once those people go off, you can control the energy they spend on you and keep them engaged in some way. I wanted her to stay there, because I wasn't going to let it go. I needed the good guys, though, those forged by the fires of crazy. I stormed right into the school building and knocked on the office window, where 3 lovely women of varying levels of administrative power were already there. I opened up dramatically again. This is urgent. A kid tried to cross the street on his own. He almost got hit. I stopped him, and his mother told me they were practicing. Those wonderful women were in disbelief, as those with functioning amygdalas would typically be. They tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but once I pointed out that she was in her cyclist gear and her bike was 5 lanes away, they started to call in the cavalry. The lady most intent on stopping her took the walkie-talkie from the other lady and stormed out. The now walkie-talkie-less lady asked me a bit more about what happened. I reiterated my brief experience, emphasizing the road being crossed right there where the bike lay, and she finally believed that it happened. They mostly talked to themselves about their rules for children on that road. It was nice to hear they already had them down to specifics, as one would assume. It was the whole reason I went to go be a dirty snitch. I only knew that jaywalking was illegal in all of Texas. I break it all the time myself on the road, but it's a special kind of fucking demented to make a young child do it on his own. In Texas, where 1 more lane is our only understanding of infrastructure next to sky roads, and your tax money builds my buddy's privatized tolls, lol. From here on, it wasn't my problem anymore. I only lingered slowly like the smug asshole I am to make sure the walkie-talkie lady managed to engage the mother. When we drove past them, the mother glared daggers at me while yelling at the walkie-talkie lady, so I waved at her with a warm smile. Bless her heart. She thinks she's right. Deep down, though, I'm still panicked that it even happened. I know the school will handle it. They have a really good security system involving rules and volunteers because, sadly, that's what we've needed to resort to since Uvalde. They will make that lady know she's no exception to these keep child alive rules as long as she's on their property. She's free to kill him elsewhere, though. Honestly, that last part is what will keep me up at night. That poor kid was a mess when I talked to him. He couldn't communicate with me, and he was terrified of his mother. The least I can do is keep an eye out for him each day after school to make sure she doesn't try to pull that stunt again. Well, that wraps up my story. My heart rate is now 115. It helped, I guess. How dare we force her to drown her kids? I work part-time at a sports center that has a pool. This mother walks up and buys tickets for herself and her 3 kids. She then asks for the swimming aids the kids had forgotten some days earlier. I go and check it out, find the exact swimming aids, and bring them to the counter. They have a tag that says, Mrs. Miller. All names are not real. Since we can only give objects back if the person can identify themselves, I ask her for her ID. On her ID the name is Mrs. Keller, so I ask her who she is. She says that she is a friend of Mrs. Miller and that Mrs. Miller gave her permission to pick them up and use them. I politely explain to her that we need some confirmation by her friend that they are okay to give her the swimming aids. We can't just hand them out to somebody without proof that the owner is okay with it. The mother, previously calm, suddenly switches into yelling. She demands to immediately speak to my manager. I try to handle it by myself first by once more politely explaining that it is for legal reasons, if she can maybe call her friend, and the friend can confirm me on the phone that I can give them to her. But she gets more upset and calls my request ridiculous, so I ask my boss to come. When my boss Srinivas, the mother is in tears. My boss asks her what happens. It turns out she called some days earlier and asked if her friend's swimming aids had been found. When my colleague asked for the name of the owner, she gave her friend's name. My colleague then said that they can be picked up with an ID at the entrance, thinking that the caller was the owner and that it would be clear that the owner can pick them up with ID. The mom proceeds to sob and asks us how we would feel if one of her kids drowned because we forced her to go swimming without swimming aids by not handing them out. In the end, she was able to call her friend, and the friend could confirm that we can give her the stuff. Thank you so much for watching the video. For more video like this, please subscribe.